Hi there, welcome to another edition of What Barrie's Talking About from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakely. On this week's program, May 31st marked the 37th anniversary of the tornado that ravaged central Barrie. A lot has changed in terms of forecasting such storms, but more still needs to be done. We get the story behind the YMCA's decision to build a new Barrie facility in the parking lot of the Saddlin Arena. Not a lot of people happy about it, but it may be the best option for a number of reasons. If you've been humming and hawing about an electric vehicle, this weekend offers an opportunity to test drive one and ask a lot of questions without any pressure to buy. There's a new place for woodworkers to play in Barrie, and what's it like being the in-park announcer for the Barrie Baycats? But first, things that go bump on your daily drive. CAA has released its annual list of worst roads in Ontario. One in our region made the top 10 for the province. 4 in Barrie are on the top 5 for the central region. We're joined now by CAA's Theresa Felice. 20th year for this survey, Theresa. I suspect the number of drivers taking part each year is getting bigger and bigger.
Absolutely. We have thousands upon thousands of voters who take to the campaign across Ontario each year. And, it's an opportunity to have your voice heard.
And it's not just drivers anymore. It's also cyclists and pedestrians who are chiming in.
Correct. We see a lot of the roads that get voted to the top 10 worst roads list in Ontario, or even to the regional list that we compile. While, driving is predominant in terms of road surface and potholes, we see a lot of lack of cycling infrastructure and lack of sidewalk infrastructure as a reason why people are taking to the campaign.
All right, so worst roads this year, the worst one, number 1, Barton Street in Hamilton, and this is the second year in the number 1 spot?
That's correct. It's 2 years in a row for Barton Street East.
So what's going on there? Do people get an opportunity to say what exactly they don't like about the street?
Well, Barton Street East is an interesting one. It's been climbing through the list for the past number of years, making its way slowly to the top. And each year that we saw it climb, it got progressively worse. And the majority is, major potholes, what we call alligator cracking, where it looks like, the back of an alligator and trying to navigate down that roadway. Just severe pavement maintenance needed. It was in bad state of repair.
Let's come closer to my area now, Central Region, where a road in Orillia tops out on the list this year and also made the main list for Ontario.
Yes, Lackley Street in Orillia made it to the top 10. It has been on the regional list, but it's the first time that it's appearing on the top 10 for all of Ontario. There's obviously some issues happening there with sort of the bad, poor pavement surface is mostly what we hear about that particular street. And the other thing that we're excited to share is that in May 2023, City Council approved $878,000 to carry out some reconstruction work on Lackley and Tecumseh.
So things are happening there. Let's come into Barrie now, where the rest of the top 5 for Central Region reside, Essa, Tiffin, Duckworth, and Huronia Road. We've talked with the city before when we get around to these surveys every year. They let us know that they're usually aware of this and they've got plans in the works, but I suspect your survey helps giddy up that a little bit.
One of the successes of the CAAs Worst Roads campaign is that again, some of these roads are not unknown to the officials in the municipality, but where they fall in terms of what their plans are. Sometimes this list helps actually move some projects along and ahead of some other projects. It really helps the cities prioritize because they understand better where their constituents, where their residents are having major pain points in the roadways that they use most often.
Well, and the good news here is that 3 of those streets, Duckworth, Essa, and Tiffin, have already begun some reconstruction work or are getting ready for some to begin. And Huronia Road, the plans are in the works. So we're ahead of the game there, which is nice.
Exactly. I think, Barrie's done some good work in trying to address roads that have appeared and get them fixed and hopefully see them off the list. Bell Farm Road is another one that was on the list for many years of our Central Region list. And that one was a $13.8 million project that began in April 2021. I believe all of the work has been completed. It's fully open to the public as of the fall of last year. And so, again, this is a success story in that, politicians, the officials are hearing what their residents have to say and fixing the roads, as well as, CAA, then our government relations team reaches out to municipalities to highlight what's coming out of the Worst Roads campaign each year.
I don't know whether you can answer this question or not. We get a lot of comments on our social media when we talk about roads that are being repaired or are in disrepair, and then we get to the road work begins, and sometimes it takes an awfully long time. Weather can be a factor in that. I know in Barrie, sometimes it's the ground underneath that causes issues, but there seems to be a long-running concern about how long it takes just to resurface a roadway, and we just went through a major resurfacing on one of the streets here that took the better part of a month, and there are some people who seem to indicate that they know a bit about the paving industry, and they say it really shouldn't be taking as long as it does to get this work done.
Yeah, I think that we've heard that as well. It's like, why does it take so long? And there's a number of factors. Like you said, weather can impact that and delay some of the road work that needs to be done. Depends on if they find something, how big the fix is, if it includes, sewers and water mains. But even on simple road reconstruction projects, like sometimes if you identify an issue, you have to sort of do your due diligence before they can continue on with it. But, we do a survey of our members each year ahead of our launching our CA annual Worst Roads campaign. And there is a tolerance. People do have a bit of tolerance to say, well, put up with a bit of construction as long as it means the roads are being fixed. But I would also say there's a bit of a shelf life to that, and that when it takes too long, then the frustrations kick in. And a majority of people say they'd like road work to be done faster, and they'd like it to last longer.
I don't know whether that's ever going to happen.
Well, there's a lot of advancements being made in materials used, to fix roads, and there's lots of different things that have been sort of tried over the years. I think one of the challenges that municipalities have is that they have limited budgets, and so you tend to put out a tender for a contract to fix a roadway, and you end up giving it usually to the lowest bid. But the lowest bid isn't always the one that might give you some of that longevity, or depending if there's different materials that could be used that cost more. And that really is a challenge, and it's something too that we've mentioned to senior levels of government when we advocate to have them dedicate more funding available to municipalities to fix roadways. But I think one of the things that the conversation needs to start moving to is, do we spend a little more in order to get a little bit more lifespan?
Theresa, thanks so much for your insight and your Worst Roads campaign. We'll look forward to talking to you again.
Thank you. My pleasure. Take care.
Won't take the bump out of those worst roads, but you may cut costs with an electric vehicle. If you've been thinking about one but still have too many questions, the Georgian College Auto Show is where you want to be this weekend. Barrie 360's MJ caught up with Director of Marketing Grace Stein.
We're trying to focus on relieving range anxiety and educating the consumer on electric vehicles. So we're going to have panels and discussions and things like that. We're also going to have test drives from Plug and Drive, so you're going to have the opportunity to test drive any of your favorite electric vehicles and really get up close and ask all the questions you have about those electric vehicles. Kids 12 and under are free, so we're going to have a full kids zone, bouncy castles, obstacle courses. The Yamaha mini bikes are coming back, and so is Red Barn Dog Show this year. And then as well, Porsche is bringing back, FAF is bringing back the Porsche Drift Track, but it's actually going to be an autocross track this year, and it's actually going to be with an electric Taycan.
Going back to test driving an electric vehicle, because I can't even imagine driving one. So this is a really good opportunity if people have been on the fence about getting one, or they really don't know what they're getting.
Yeah, absolutely.
What kind of vehicles are there going to be? Is there going to be a Tesla? Is there going to be Hyundai?
So most of them are going to be manufacturers like Ford, Toyota, GM. We don't exactly know what Plug and Drive is bringing specifically, but they'll bring a couple vehicles from the fleet, and our OEMs, our manufacturers, have an opportunity to bring their vehicles as well, or your conventional manufacturers that you really get to get up close with. And because we're a non-selling show, it really relieves the stress of the pressurized selling environment. Nobody's trying to sell anything to you. You can just come in, ask all the questions you want, and get true, honest answers, and get right up close and take it. We're actually letting the test drives go off campus, so it's going to be a pretty decent-sized test drive.
Obviously, kids cannot drive the cars because they don't have licenses. Is there anything for underage kids, like you said, like the Yamaha, like there's e-bikes?
Yeah, so kids can obviously ride in the test drive, but I know that's not as exciting. But our FAF drift track this year, kids can ride in the Taycan with a professional driver who will take them around the autocross track. Yamaha mini bikes is coming again, so I believe it's kids 6 to 12. They provide you with the full suit, the full gear and everything, and you get to do laps around our field. And then same with our obstacle course and our bouncy castle. We're bringing pretty big ones this year, so we're super excited about those.
Anything particular you're really excited to see?
I'm just excited to see it all come together because usually the students at our program participate in the auto show every single year, but because of COVID, none of our directors have participated in a show before. So I'm just excited to see it all come together, see all the students come together and see the kind of finished product and see all the consumers come and hang out and visit.
Where and when is this going to be taking place?
So it'll be in the Georgian College Barrie campus at 1 Georgian Drive from June 2nd, this Friday, to this Sunday, June 4th. And tickets are $10 at the door. And like I said, kids and under are free and parking is free.
The YMCA's decision to build a new facility in the north end of the parking lot at Sadlin Arena has met with a lot of criticism. It's not central. It's too close to the Innisfil Y to start. Barrie 360's Ian McLennan tracked down Jill Tetman, president and CEO of YMCA Simcoe Muskoka, to get the rationale for the decision.
Why this location? What's attractive about it?
Well, there are many things attractive about it. We spent quite a while with some experts in the community looking at a number of different options. I think the community knows that we were looking at downtown Barrie. What this site offers us is space. It offers us 3 acres, and when we looked in and around the downtown, we were getting just under an acre to build, and it just wasn't going to meet our vision of what we wanted in our new YMCA. I think looking at H Block, which we walked away from a year ago because of cost escalation, it really was about a space that was too small for us and the ability to have to park and build underground parking or above ground parking, which became very costly. So 3 acres is what we were looking for. And the city very graciously offered us to look at that space to see if it would meet our needs. So it's a growing population on the south end, and we believe that as the population grows, that we will meet some great needs in that area. It works for our partners. It works for our partnership with Youth Haven, and it gives us the space to build the youth transitional housing, which was a really important part of our vision. It works with our partnership with the regional Royal Victoria Regional Health Centre and looking at our cardiac and cancer rehab programs and potentially even broadening some of that programming. And it works with all of our other programs and services that just fit better on that larger site.
I know downtown would have been ideal. You had said that before, and it's a good news announcement. For those that do say, though, it feels like it's out in the boonies or it's too close to the Innisfil Y. How would you respond?
Well, we actually did a lot of research on that. We looked at consecutive circular rings around sort of a kilometer and 5 kilometers and 10 kilometers. We looked at market share. We did a very extensive market share analysis of all of the sites that we were looking at least our top 3 sites that we were looking at. And we believe that there's not a lot of overlap, particularly with the Innisfil Y. We believe there is a very big population and growing population in the South End, and our research told us that our membership would be the strongest, actually, in that location compared to a couple of other locations that we had been looking at.
Is this city-owned property?
It is.
And so you have to negotiate with the city? Are you able to put a cost then on what this build will be based on the H Block being far too expensive?
Yeah, we are looking at a lease from the city, and so we will not be purchasing the land. We will be leasing the land for a very long-term lease. We are looking at sort of a cap of $65 million of this build, and a lot of that has the price was brought down quite substantially because of the cost of parking. With the 3 acres we're allowed, or we have space for 130 to 150 surface parking spaces, which is much less cost than going up or going down. So we have saved a lot of money from both a purchase of land and parking to be able to bring our cost in at around $65 million for the cost for the build.
Is an example then that the Y, yes, it's a great place to go, for fitness, for the aquatics and what have you. But you touch on Youth Haven, you touch on the RVH, that it's all about community. It's bigger than just exercise.
Absolutely. This is a center of community. It is not a fitness center. It's a larger center of community, and we do hope that we attract a number of young families that are looking for a place to go, adults, youth, seniors that are looking for a place to connect, a place to feel like they belong. We know that is something that we hear all the time when people talk about the YMCA. It's not just a gym, or it's not just a place to go and work out. It's a place to connect with people and make new friends and meet up with friends. So it really is that kind of a social connection and community center.
In terms of timeline for build, a couple of years ago, the province provided a grant of just over $29 million, I believe, with a deadline 2027 to use that up. So what are timelines for, shovel on the ground and a build here?
So now that we have announced that this is our preferred site, we're going to be doing the due diligence on the land right away. And so we need to do some soil testing. We need to look at some environmental conditions and archaeological conditions. So we'll be doing that work and starting that work right away. And we anticipate that we will have shovel in the ground by the fall of 2024, so next fall. So we're giving ourselves about a year and a half for all of the due diligence and some of the site plan pieces that we have to work through, which takes a long time. It's a tight timeline. We then would give ourselves two and a half years to build, and the building needs to be substantially completed for our government grant by the end of March of 2027.
What Barrie's Talking About is a weekly podcast featuring the best Barrie has to offer and more. We've covered a lot of ground since we began last summer, learned about a local effort to save the monarch butterfly, met up-and-coming country artist Graham Scott Fleming of Elmvale, and heard how a Barrie police officer and a mental health crisis worker from RVH are changing the way mental health-related calls are handled. You can get caught up and make it easy to keep up in the future by subscribing to What Barrie's Talking About through any streaming service. Still to come on What Barrie's Talking About, behind the scenes at a Barrie Baycats game, and the anniversary of the 1985 Barrie tornado was this week. What have we learned, and what do we still have to learn? Now this.
Our community rocks.
It's a well-known fact blood transfusion saves lives. It's also a well-known fact that the world relies on voluntary unpaid donations to fill the need for blood. The need for blood never ends. Canadian Blood Services in Barrie is calling on you to help save a life. Please consider donating today. Appointments are mandatory and must be booked in advance. Book today at blood.ca through the Give Blood app or by calling 1-888-2-DONATE.
Our community rocks on Barrie's Rock Station. Rock 95.
This is What Barrie's Talking About from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakely. Few of us get to do a job we really, really love. Rob Daniels is lucky. He has two. He's the midday personality on 107.5 Cool FM and also the in-park announcer for the Barrie Baycats. Not as easy as it may sound, but our Will Conkin is hearing it is like a dream come true.
What's it mean to be the voice that people hear when they come to a game?
It means the world. I can't tell you how thankful I am to work this job. I'm incredibly grateful. I remember being a kid, like 9 years old, at, the Rogers Center where the Blue Jays play, and I would sit there in the stands with my dad, and I used to imitate the public address announcer at the Dome, the Rogers Center, however you would like to call it these days. And it was a dream. So a dream come true to just be able to do this for meaningful baseball, like in the Intercounty Baseball League, is a dream come true. And to work with Josh Matlow, the general manager, him and I have had an upbringing together, which is kind of neat. Our story together, we played competitive baseball back in the day about 20-ish years ago. And then now we're both at a baseball stadium working different purposes at the ball field. He's a coach, the field manager, and I'm the public address announcer. But certainly there's not a day that goes by that I'm not grateful to do that job.
Yeah, do you kind of feel like a responsibility to the fans to provide like a specific aspect to the game when they're there?
Yeah, just to be upbeat for them, like to make sure that when they're coming there, they're in the know of 50-50 tickets, let's say, that are on sale, or all the lineups to have, who's coming up to the plate. And I think a lot of those fans care, and they get hyped up when they hear their home squad getting announced. And I just try and make it one announcement better than the next. So
yeah, you really set the tone.
Yeah, that's what I try to do, and I love it. I really do.
Maybe kind of run through a game day. What is your schedule for you?
So a game day normally consists of like showing up probably about 35 to 40 minutes before first pitch, and you get there and you sort of collect the lineups from both teams, the opposing team and the home team, and you jot the names down, because I have to do that paperwork, make sure I know what position they're playing, the number on the back of their jersey, their full names, and try and go through pronunciations as well. Those are not always easy, especially when the away team comes to town. And so make sure I have that down, and figure out who the umpires are, because they get a shout out as well at the beginning of the game in terms of who's handling home plate and the bases. And then I also go through any special announcements that need to be made in terms of the ceremonial first pitch, who's handling that, and who is singing the anthem, or if it's just an anthem being played, our Canadian national anthem, of course. And so once I get all that jotted down and figured out, I look over the script and kind of make sure I know where I'm going at each point throughout the night. And I also take a look at the sponsorships, which are the same throughout the season, but I look through them. They're inning sponsors. And for the most part, do that, grab my coffee, and I'm ready to go. Yeah.
Does it all feel like a job, or do you still just find enjoyment throughout that process? Because that's a lot of juggling to do.
It is a lot of juggling, but it's deep, meaningful purpose to me. Like, this is something I worked on so incredibly much over the years. Like, I've made demos for it. I've been saddened in the past because we don't have a lot of teams like they do in the United States, where you could do this on every corner in the U.S. with minor league teams, major league teams. We have only one Major League Baseball team, but everywhere in the States, you got teams that are, just as good as the Baycats, and they're all over the place on every block. And you could, and these jobs are few and far between in Canada. So and home is, Ontario. So I'm just grateful that I just kept working as hard as I could to try and get this one job that exists for the Barrie area, and happy for it.
It's early, but the Baycats are 2-3 on the season. What have you liked so far from the club, or any players that have stood out for you?
Well, I like this guy, Evan Souls, who's a great pitcher. And I'll go with my daughter's two favorite, because she has two favorites on the Baycats. She's 9 years old, Madison. Shout out to Madison. And she's funny because when she goes to the ballpark and watches the game, she calls them the sexy teenager boys. The Baycats. Yeah. So they are number 13, Marcel Lacasse, who she loves. And she also happens to love Ryan Rio, the designated hitter / first baseman. And they are playing, those are fan favorites, I would say. And I'd say those two are my favorite, too.
The next home game is Thursday against the Guelph Royals. Hopefully they can get the win.
Let's hope, yeah. And you can get tickets for that at barriebaycats.com.
What Barrie's talking about on the road again at Framework Studio on Saunders Road in Barrie. And this is new, this is great, this is right up my alley, but I'm going to let you explain, Sean Livingston, exactly what's going on here.
Yeah, awesome, thank you. This is new to Barrie. We're a woodworking studio with an emphasis on memberships and woodworking classes for the public. Anyone can become a member to our shop. They gain full access to all of the machines and tools and workbenches in the studio to come in and build whatever they want. We try to encourage other business people who are maybe outgrowing the space they're in or downsizing from their current shop to come in and make money at their craft. So we're here to help those people, give them the little nudge they need to grow their business.
Is there anything you don't have in here? I'm looking around. There's saws and sanders and cutters and clamps, and you can find just about anything you need here.
Just about everything you need for furniture or cabinetry can be found here.
What was the genesis of this? What went off in your head that said we need to do this?
Just a lack of spaces like this in the Barrie area or even in the Southern Ontario area. With skilled trades dwindling the way they are, there is a real need for new people to be introduced to the craft. It was a great opportunity for us to step in and offer our shop for people to come in, try out woodworking through our classes, and for people who are already in the craft to come in and expand their knowledge and experience in the craft and grow their careers and try to help fill the void that there is in the trades.
Tell me about the classes, because this is going to be of interest to a lot of people who think they can do it, but they don't have the tools and they don't have the expertise.
Absolutely. So we have a whole bunch of very beginner-friendly classes available on our website. We've had people come in with zero woodworking experience. They've never touched a chisel or a sander in their lives. And they've walked out with beautiful pieces of woodworking. Picture frames and outdoor planters and charcuterie boards. We try to offer a wide variety of different things for people to make, and we take them step by step through the entire process from rough lumber to the finished product.
So those are small projects, but I see a big garage door, so people could get involved in bigger things too.
Yes, absolutely. We have a member who builds cedar strip canoes.
Really?
So he can bring his canoe in here and work on it and take it home with him, or store it here until he comes in the next day to continue working on it. If people are building large dining tables, let's say, there's ample space in here for them to work on it throughout the building process, and then enough space for them to get it out the door as well at the end.
And now tell us about the membership situation. How does that work?
Yeah, so people can sign up to become members. This is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week facility. So when people book time after becoming members, they book time to come into the shop. Mm-hmm. And they'll get a one-time use PIN code sent to their phone that unlocks the door. So they can come in. The whole place is video surveillanced. Everyone's been signed off on safety machines or safety protocols on the machines.
How long have you been here now?
This is our 3rd month here.
And it's been busy?
It's been busier by the day, for sure, yes.
So, as you said, there was a lot of pent-up demand for this. There was a lot of need for it.
There is, absolutely. And it's just a matter of getting the word out there now, letting people know that we're here and our doors are open for new members and for members and non-members alike for the courses as well.
People want more information, website, phone number?
Yes, they can go to frameworkstudios.ca. We have a list of all of our courses and our memberships on there, everything we're about. They can reach out to us at 647-818-7210.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Dan.
May 31st, 1985, 37 years ago, a brief but devastating F4 tornado barged through central Barrie. Its wind topped at 300 kilometers an hour. 8 people in the city were among the 12 people killed. $100 million damage was done. 800 people were left homeless. What have we learned since? Are we better prepared for another tornado? Here again is our Ian McLennan with David Sills of the Northern Tornadoes Project at Western University.
It was interesting, the tornado that struck Barrie May 31st, 1985. It was, I don't know if it was a wake-up call for the province, but the city of Barrie began a lot more coordination with emergency preparedness. It almost was a trigger to start something like this.
Made a big impact, not just in Ontario and in Barrie, but across the country as far as how can we better forecast these storms. And in fact, with that storm, a new Doppler radar had just been installed at Environment Canada, and it covered that. So it was the first time that a tornado had been sampled by a Doppler radar in Canada. So we learned quite a bit from that experience.
And if memory serves, there was a weather watch for a severe thunderstorm watch for that area, but it dragged on through most of the day, and there was talk that people just became complacent because nothing was happening.
If a watch is issued and it's not upgraded to a warning, then it's possible that people stop listening. So that's something we find is that if there's a watch issued, then it's usually kind of a long approach to the event where the target time is 6 hours before the event. So that's a long time for people to wonder if it's going to hit them. Whereas with a warning, that's, if something is happening and it will occur imminently in your area. And at that point, people really need to really take action when the warning is issued.
Are we better prepared in terms of forecasting tornadoes, from 1985 to 2023, and including that tornado that struck Barrie just a few years ago?
Sure, we have so much better data now. In fact, there's new radars that have been installed across the country that are capable of earlier detection of tornadic storms. That's one of the reasons they were upgraded. But there's more work that's needed on radar tools for the forecasters that issue the warnings to make the most of those capabilities. So there's still work to do in order to get those tornado warnings out earlier.
I know there was chatter after the tornado in 2021 in Barrie that the warning wasn't issued fast enough. The tornado struck, then the warning was issued. How much slack do we give meteorologists, though, in terms of how challenging it is to forecast tornadic storms?
Oh, it is very challenging. It's one of the most challenging things a forecaster will face, and that's a lot of it is because it's fairly rare. Some forecasters will go through their entire career without ever having issued a warning for a significant tornado. So the main thing is training and simulations and making sure that the forecasters get some confidence with these kinds of rare events before they actually happen on their shift.
And in 2021, there was still chatter whether that warning was issued fast enough. Was there any determination, or can you even, pinpoint, timelines?
Sure. Yeah, that warning was issued a bit late as far as the damage that was caused. That the people were walking out of their homes after the damage had happened, and then they got the warning on their phone. So this is what we want to improve. It's a question of lead time. How quickly can the forecasters respond once they see the features on radar that look like it could be a tornadic storm? And obviously they have to act very quickly because the time from seeing a feature on radar to the tornado actually causing damage is sometimes only minutes. So that is really one of the big challenges with tornado warnings, is just the short amount of time that forecasters have to act. And so we need better tools, better training in order for those forecasters to have the confidence to really push that button when they see the first sign of something that looks like it could be tornadic.
Now, 1985, there were, the emergency preparedness. Obviously, the focus was, to galvanize and be better prepared. 2021, there was talk about hurricane straps, particular roofing, to protect infrastructure. Did anything come about in Barrie or within the construction industry? Is your organization still pushing for that?
Yeah, I mean, Western Engineering has been pushing for hurricane straps for I think about a decade now, and trying to get traction. And certainly the Barrie case, the Barrie event made a good case for hurricane straps, and it was really great to see Barrie's City Hall taking that on and making recommendations for changes to the building code. As far as I'm aware, hurricane straps are still voluntary across the country, and it's up to builders whether they want to use them. But they're very inexpensive as far as comparing it to the total cost of the home. There are some builders that have done it voluntarily and are building, tornado-resilient subdivisions. So that's great to see. And but the end objective would be to get that right in the building code, so it's done everywhere where tornadoes happen.
And in Ontario, is that a provincial government responsibility to dictate that or implement that, I guess?
Yes, that's there's a national building code it's kind of a master code that's a suggestion to all the provinces, but it's up to the provinces to enact their own provincial building codes, and that's where the rubber hits the road.
And just for layman terms, if people aren't familiar, we're talking hurricane straps. What are they designed to do?
Sure, they're basically small pieces of metal that are designed to hold the roof onto the walls. And in Canada, we've built for decades and decades homes that can withstand a lot of snow on the roof. But there hasn't been much in the way in the building code to prevent roofs from coming off. So if you have a poorly connected roof, as far as your roof-to-wall connections, then that roof can come off, and then all of your contents of your home are at risk of being destroyed. So keeping that roof on is really important, and we can do that with these hurricane straps, keep the roof on for tornadoes that are up to EF2 strength, basically. And that is about 90% of tornadoes in Canada. So really, we can attack this problem with hurricane straps and have much of the problem solved. So that's one of the reasons we're really pushing for that solution across Canada.
Coming down to the responsibility of the individual themselves in terms of when they hear a severe thunderstorm watch or warning, where is the responsibility on the person living at home or in their apartment? What should they do? What are the expectations there?
There are certain things you can do that will certainly help your home survive a tornado. When a tornado watch is issued, meaning the ingredients are there, it may or may not happen, but it's possible. Things you can do are close your garage door, close your windows, make your building envelope, seal that envelope so wind is not getting into your home, and remove things that could become missiles and cause damage to either your house or someone else's house. And then when that warning is issued, make sure to get yourself out of the way of that tornado. So don't be standing there taking video like you see a lot on social media. Get away from windows and doors and out of the way of any debris. Try to get into a basement or an interior part of your house, and that's the safest place you can be.
And finally, is there a tornado alley in southern Ontario? Because I've heard it said that Barrie is in a so-called tornado alley.
Yeah, the Great Lakes have a big influence on where thunderstorms develop and therefore tornadoes, in southern Ontario. And so we end up with this alley, you could call it, that basically rides along the 401 and to the north of it, maybe 100 kilometers to the north of it. So, Windsor to Sarnia, and then just north of Toronto to Barrie, that area, and extending into eastern Ontario. So, yeah, we definitely see that Barrie is right in that alley, and certainly there's been a number of big tornado events in the Barrie area, and that certainly is expected to continue.
And that's our program for this week. Thanks to Ian, MJ, and Will for their input, to Matt Ladder for his editing magic, and to you for listening. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe to What Barrie's Talking About, rate it, review it. You can also keep up with What Barrie's Talking About on Facebook and Twitter at Barrie360, on our website, Barrie360.com, and with our daily Kickstart podcast. I'm Dan Blakely. Hope you'll join us again next week.